All right. Thank you very much. This time, 7:07 p.m., I'd like to call this meeting of the Denville Township Board of Education to order. This meeting of the Denville Township Board of Education is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and/or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the Township Clerk, and has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office and at each of the school buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mrs. DeLuna? Here. Mr. Lure?
Yo.
Mrs. Lindsay? Here. Mr. Gass?
Here.
Mr. Napoloni?
Here.
Mr. Patella?
Here. As we have need for an executive session tonight, Mr. Lure, would you care to move us into executive?
I would like to move to convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of this closed session will be to discuss
negotiations, legal, and personnel.
Negotiations, legal, and personnel issues. Meetings of this session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we are in executive session at 7:09 p.m. Thank you. Good? Okay, thank you. All right, we're back in regular session at 7:38 p.m. At this time, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags behind us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, that's the whole formal thing?
You ready?
Well,
You're on.
so every year since the new harassment, intimidation, and bullying law came out, districts have to do what's called a self-evaluation, decide in these different criteria. There's 78 points you can earn in each school to decide how many you actually should be awarded due to the fact that you've either not covered it or gone above and beyond. So it's basically the way it works. In Lakeview this year, we have covered, we feel that we've earned 73 out of 78 points for 97%. In Riverview, we have 71 out of 78 points for 91, and Valley View 75 out of 78 for 96. What happens is this gets posted online, it'll be on the website, and then the state, sometime later on in the year, will post our grade, or decide whether or not our grade matches what we put in there. And the last 2 years, whatever we wrote, they agreed with. So it's a pretty exhaustive process of review for each district's safety team, HIV teams and buildings. And they have to go through these, it's about a 5-page document that it tells you all the different areas in which you could have earned points, and then you have to identify what you did. So if you did training, like, you remember when we did the cyberbullying training here? That would be one of the things that you would get points for. And then we also, every year, on our principals, at the beginning of the year, I give them what I call an SOA, a statement of assurance. There's about 20 items on there that they have to cross off and attest that they finished it. One of them is to review district HIV procedures, and that needs to be done before the first day of school. So all teachers, all staff are trained on our district HIV procedures prior to school starting. All staff in the district are trained on HIV through our RCN program, which is a online training program. And then all volunteers and substitutes on our website, if you ever look at it under staff, you'll see substitute volunteer trainings. There's actually a few trainings that they have to do. They look through some slides and they have to be trained on a few areas in the district, and they certify that they took it. So again, this thing will be submitted to the state, and then it'll be approved next week. So this is my presentation. Next week you approve the presentation. It gets sent to the county the next day, and then we actually certify it in the homeroom, and we get our grade back later on in the year. Any questions about this, about the process?
Steve, one quick question. We had the lawyers come in, right, and do kind of a presentation on how to do the investigations and kind of help kind of maybe optimize the process?
Yes.
Do we have plans to do any more of that? Do we feel like we've kind of accomplished what we want to accomplish there, or is there more to do?
We feel really good about the way it's gone, and we had our attorney actually reviewed our policy and made some changes. And the changes have allowed us to be a lot more efficient and effective with the HIV policy than we were in the past. So we do still send people out. Like, we do outside training as well. So all of our administrative team has gone down to FEA, which is in Cranberry, and they get trained on the state policy and the different laws that are on this. Probably in a year or two, maybe we'll bring that in again and have him review the policies or any changes that have come up. Because when the law is written, there's no case law to guide us, so it actually changes a lot depending on the case law. So Matt comes in, he gives us an update on the case law. So it might be a good thing to do every other year or so. So yeah, I think we would do it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Steve, thank you. Do you want to skip to Sandy and come back to you?
No, I'm good. I'm ready. I spoke too soon. So, I think we made some progress with the town hall lease, which I'm very happy about. It's good that we had the meeting, we discussed it. So we will go back and we'll start moving on this. And I think we feel pretty confident that this is going to work out well for us. Our school openings went well. I know I was at every school. I rode the bus the other day, and it was a great opportunity to get to see the kids. The students came in smiling and ready to go. The teachers greeted them with smiles. I know our convocation we thought went very well. I thought every speaker we had did a nice job of welcoming everybody and being positive and getting the year off to a good start. I think the use of Honeywell was a treat for our staff to be in a building like that with the breakfast they provided. I know Dino did a nice job speaking there, and so did I think also Jeff Barnish singing the song made it a good laugh for everybody. And we're working on the volunteers. We obviously every year this year we go through this volunteer process of getting people fingerprinted. The process is, and Lakeview, we rescinded it because it was a little bit confusing, and I appreciate you pointing it out, Mike, because I think after I listened to you and read what was sent, I can understand that it looked like it may be everybody. The intent was to make sure people understood what was involved prior to actually signing up to be a volunteer, because there are a few things that you have to do. So the good part is we have the letters that are going out, and it'll explain the process, and then then they'll get the actual information of how to do whatever it is, your fingerprinting, once they're selected to be the volunteer. They won't get it prior to being selected. They won't know about how to do it, just in case they start doing their fingerprinting prior to being selected, because then you might get people who aren't actually going to be volunteers getting their fingerprints done. So every year I think we get better at this. It was one of those policies that the board passed prior to me coming here, and I don't know if, I think it's going better every year. It's like a learning curve, I guess, and everybody questions on what do I put other, and there's a picture of it says with an arrow that says other, so, but obviously, people are busy and it's hard to go through all this, and we're also asking a lot out of them. The volunteers are also required, not only are they required to go through a criminal background check, but they're also required to go through those trainings that I just spoke about our policies and HIV and child abuse and diabetes and allergies and all this other stuff that everybody needs to be trained on. So it's being a volunteer, normally you would think that everybody would be so accommodating and say, come volunteer for us, but when you volunteer, we make you go through some hoops to keep our kids safe and secure. Our summer projects are going well. I think even the projects here are going great. The roof here is almost 100% done. The Lakeview roof, they put on hold doing the stones this weekend due to the fact that it was the fun fair. They did the metals this weekend. That means all the flashing around the building, that's all been done. Then they'll put the stones down, and that job will be pretty close to being done. The bus garage project looks great. I mean, it's amazing. When I share with you the pictures of the bus garage, you'll be amazed at the difference between the beginning, before and after, of how compromised the building was in terms of having supports rotted out. So that's complete. And the library project is going well. There's a couple little things that still have to be done, but overall it's going well. As you walked in, you saw a van out there from Massachusetts, BE Retrofit, I think that was the name of it. They're doing, and you may notice it too around the buildings. You'll see heavy weather stripping around the buildings and caulking and different things. That's basically what they do. So Riverview is pretty close to being done. This building is probably 50% done, and then they'll move over to Lakeview. That project's going well. That's part of the ESA project. Our back-to-school nights are this Wednesday for Lakeview. That's the 14th. Riverview is the 22nd of September, and then Valley View is October 6th. At 6 p.m. on the Valley View meeting prior to the back-to-school night, we'll have a parent information session and distribution of the Chromebooks. And we expect to get a good turnout because it's back-to-school night, so we normally have a decent turnout there. And we're very confident that we'd like to get the project off the ground. That's my report.
Thank you. And just to tag on to what you said about the convocation, I was lucky enough to be there. It was excellent, and again, I'm sure we did a thank you to Honeywell for the facility. That was really, really nice. And you and Sandy did a fantastic job. I mean, I can't say enough about the convocation. I think it's a great way to kick off the school year. You guys did a great job.
Thank you. Honeywell said that we could have it next year too. That was pretty nice.
Perfect. Sandy, you're up.
Starting Monday, September 19th, we are going to implement a new homework communication procedure on each teacher's website. So you just go to your own local school, go to that teacher's website, and the homework must be posted 1 hour after the students leave school. And if the homework is not posted within 1 hour after school, then that homework is not due the next day. So to keep the homework current on each website, it will be posted, it could be posted daily or weekly, but as long as it's current, that's what we're looking for to communicate with families, just so that everyone is clear what is expected of each student. And we're moving into the 21st century. We need to make sure that we're using systems. We know a lot of our parents are looking at the website online at work, and it's easier if they're able to access what the homework is before they look at the student's agenda. We still will be using the agendas in class. However, this is a way to check those at home. And I just wanted to note something great I saw on Friday. So I was at Lakeview, and I was in Mrs. Costello's kindergarten class, and it was the 4th day of kindergarten. And I was so impressed. I couldn't tell if it was the 4th day or the 180th day, because when I walked in, they were reviewing something and reading, or talking about something and reading, and she rang her bell, and instantly the students turned and started communicating and talking together. And as soon as she hit the bell again, they instantly turned back into the group and started back with the story again. I was just impressed that after 4 days, I know sometimes people always wonder, when they look at the standards, can our students do those things? And here's a kindergartner, our 5-year-olds, after 4 days, had no problem, just all of them turning, talking with one another, and then turning back. It was quite impressive. Thank you, and kudos to Mrs. Costello. And this concludes the Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Any business administrative comments?
I do. Just a reminder that if any board members would like to attend the October conference, October 25th to the 27th in Atlantic City, to please email me. I need to make reservations. The reservations are made. However, I need to make payment by the end of this month, and I need an accurate count. I will also like to mention that we receive almost 99% of the FEMA grants that we applied for in late May. This is due to the snowstorm in January 2016. So that's final and closed. And that concludes my report.
Very good. That's great, thank you. Okay, moving on to the open public portion. We will open up for public discussion at 7:52 PM. Seeing no public tonight. I will close the public session also at 7:52 PM. And let's move into our business. Mr. Anderson, would you care to take us through the items we will be voting on at the next meeting?
Sure. At our next meeting, we will be voting for approval on Treasury of Schools money, Board Secretary, typical reports for August, as well as education reports and minutes from our regular and executive sessions of August 15th.
Thank you. Any comments here before we move on? If not, I'll move on to new business. Personnel, if there are no objections, I would like to move items 1 through 5 as a block with the following amendments. In item number 1, we're removing DG. That's being deleted. And I apologize, I should have done this earlier. And item P, we're going to change $22.50 per hour, I think, to read $22.50 per hour, up to a maximum of 2,000 hours. Is that correct?
Correct.
Per year.
Per year. Okay. Per year. 2,000 hours.
It says 16, 17.
Well, it says 16, 17. but-
Okay, yes.
Yeah. And we have, well, I said 1 through 5, and we have our other items, substitutes, substitute call-in. And the last one, number 5, we're approving the personnel for the anti-bullying team for this school year.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Anyone have anything on these items? Going once? All right, everybody's good? Roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mr. Lure?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Napoloni?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. Mrs. Lindsay, would you care to move us through instructional program?
Sure. Tonight, I'm asking you to vote on the student workshops and expenses as listed on your agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Anyone? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mr. Lure?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Napoloni?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. Mrs. DeLuna, would you care to move us through finance, please?
Sure. There's one item to be voted on tonight under Finance, letter C. It's about a cost associated with summer program, PG Chambers, of $1,526.50 for occupational physical therapy services.
I'll second.
So this was an additional cost from that period, from June 27th?
Additional services.
Anyone else? Anyone? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. DeLuna?
Yes.
Mr. Lure?
Yes.
Mrs. Lindsay?
Yes.
Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Napoloni?
Yes.
Mr. Capello?
Yes. Brings us to B and G. All right. So now we'll move to personnel. This is new business. Item under A, we have items 1 and 2, which actually are no new hires. Not yet. All right, TBD. All right, and then we have some FMLA leave. Anybody have any questions on these before we move on? Any discussion? Okay. On to instruction and programming. Mrs. Lindsay, would you care to walk us through these?
Sure. At the next meeting, I'll be asking you to vote for the new 2016-2017 district goals that we came up with in August. And to approve the use of, and I'm sorry, Cindy, will you tell me again how you say that?
Yeah, thank you, Sue.
Right, okay. For Spanish 1 and 2 and French 1 and 2 at a cost of $4.99 per student, which we discussed in the committee meeting and explained in the committee is and we will also be having you vote on the disposal of books that are no longer being used. And I reserve the right for something else to come up and use. Oh, so sorry. Yeah, probably is. And may I also, at the next meeting, have you vote on the field trip for the process? Sorry.
Thank you.
Ever exciting field trip.
And I apologize to everyone. I will get the minutes out shortly.
The only question I had was on B1 for the district goals. Is there a better way for us to word, I guess this is kind of directed towards Steve and Sandy, to be included in the action plan, address needs for students in the middle, just so when somebody is looking at that, if they're not understanding, they understand what we're talking about. I think we all do as a board, but I'm not sure if the average person would see that and understand it. So, and I don't know if you necessarily have an answer right now, and you can certainly think about it, and I would like to see that kind of just clarified for the public, that's all.
I just want to point out, I'm fine with changing it. I wanted to leave it exactly like it was the night from our school board's person, so I'm totally fine with changing it, but I wanted to just see it the way she wrote it. If anybody would like to make a change, I'd be happy to. So if that's an area, like we can reword that part if everybody thinks that we should. I have no problem with that.
I agree that it should be clarified. I think it was sort of shorthand that night that we as a board understand that we've done a lot of work on our sort of high achieving student programs last year and the year before, and that we are working on our intervention programs and our special education. So we call them the students in the middle, which make up what? 85–90% of our students? You know, which does include readers, writers workshop, and you listed writers workshop and the math and the social studies. So I mean, that does cover our students in the middle, but I don't know if people understand that that's not middle school, you know.
And I was not at that meeting.
No, you were not.
Because
it was shorthand, and she was just trying to get as many of our ideas that we shouted out for 3 hours at her as possible.
yeah, I wasn't at that meeting, but certainly, you know, I would say that all of our programs are addressed to general curriculum. I don't really focus any particular area. I mean, I would say that all of the fact that we've redone in 3 years reading and writing and math, social studies, and science, that's for everybody. So I just think in our action plans, we'll just indicate, because we've changed for everyone. I mean, it's.
And I think one of the key words.
That bullet point kind of covers the things that you're going to be working on, or we did work on.
Those are things for this year.
Yeah, the highlight
coming
Right.
up.
But that actually addresses the bullet point, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean,
And I think
I
one of
think
the.
anything would be different for anyone.
No, I think one of the key, what I think of a key word that didn't make it in here is opportunities for students. That was specifically what we talked about. So not necessarily needs, but kind of offering opportunities for students in the middle to do things that they might not normally be exposed to. That was what I got out of it.
I just think it just, as Mike pointed out, you know, you talk about students in the middle, and I would think, you know, just going back 5 years to the last year, we're always trying to address the needs of our students, you know, whatever they may be. So And I think you got the students in the lower tier, those in the middle, and those, the gifted and talented are up on the top, so, it's got to be work, something's got to be different there in the action plan in terms of, maybe identifying new needs, that address needs for students in the middle. And if I was a parent with a kid that's really struggling, that's not in the middle, I'd say, what are you doing for my kid?
Yeah,
We'll have to identify.
So, I mean,
Identify what-
I get the concept, though. I just think it's got to be maybe more specific, or maybe, and again, we're always addressing the needs of our kids, especially those ones that are having problems and need some intervention, but, just maybe completely, identify, it's identification of things that maybe we've been missing, or something new that's come up on the horizon to be included to educate the kids.
The drift of the conversation was, we focused right, we focused left. Now let's focus in the middle. It's as simple as that.
Sandy and I had a discussion about it today. We thought maybe when she creates the action plan for this, we can have targeted groups listed. So in other words, if one of the things that we're on here is, just giving an example, is to look at the gifted and talented program and make an improvement, then it would say targeted group gifted. If it said something like Reader's Workshop, expanded use of Reader's Workshop, it would probably say gifted, middle, and lower level, or all students, something like that. So what do you think about that? In other words, adding a column for the targeted area.
I like listing the targeted area, but I guess, I think back to the original point was, we feel like we do, what are we going to come up as an extra opportunity for the middle? I mean, enriching the gifted and talented program isn't aimed at the middle. Doing the intervention isn't aimed at the middle. It's, right? I think that was the whole point was, we do focus, or we have in the past several years, focused a lot on expanding, gifted and talented opportunities. Maybe not our literal expo program, but on opportunities for gifted students, so.
And I think it's outside the box ideas, right? Because we do a lot of we're always changing and adapting, but I mean, to me, Chromebooks is a great example of an outside the box idea kind of that is being, brought to all students, but I think a lot of programs, when you look at the middle, it's either brought to, I'm not sure if we can identify one thing that we've done outside the box, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it's just, we've done a lot of outside the box for the gifted students, like you said, with the high school program being brought in. With the special ed, we've certainly done a tremendous amount of work with those students and other programs for them. And then there's all those programs that cover all three of those buckets, if you want to put 3 buckets into them. But is there anything that can we look at opportunities that focus more on an outside the box opportunity to get those students to go from maybe middle to up, or just within the middle do even better?
Sure, I'm sure we can, and just recall that last year we implemented the Enrichment for All, which I thought was a very innovative program that every student, one day a week, we designate a period called Mastery Enrichment, and students get to self-select. They're doing robotics, drama, theater, creative writing, math. I mean, they get environmental science. We're covering huge, something that was never there before. Now every student every week gets to take enrichment. It's not just for that exact reason. I wanted when students went out to Expo, everybody gets to go to enrichment, not just one group. But we can still find other ways to always provide enhancements for everyone. That it's open to everyone.
I think making a district goal that's tagged to the, you can call it middle, but we're saying average, I guess, is the word that would be used. And
I don't think we can legally do that.
There's something
It's
inherently,
all students.
there's something inherently, it feels wrong to signal out a board goal to say one segment of the population we're going to, and I get what you mean, but I would really rather have a goal that identifies some of these action plans to the entire student body. If we have parents here, I'm sure all of them would say that their kids are exceptional in some areas and average in some others and need some intervention in others, if they were being honest. So, what defines an average kid or a middle kid or whatever we're calling it? It's a little bit offensive, actually, as I think about it. We should be, as a board, trying to identify programs that really help everyone. And I don't know that a goal should be tied to one segment of our population or another. There's something wrong about that.
Yeah,
Well, we do
by
it all the
that-
time.
Yeah, but we
Yeah,
do it,
exactly.
yeah.
By that argument,
When is the
we
last
would-
time, tell me the last district goal that was tied to a specific?
How about the bullet point right underneath?
But I also think those are legal.
I understand that, but I'm saying.
Wait, which one? Which bullet are you talking about?
Expand intervention programs, RTI, in Newton Billingham.
I agree, it should be.
That targets,
The goal, but the overall goal
but
should
as a
be tied
district,
to.
we need to
But that's not the
strengthen
goal.
that. So we do need that goal to show that we are serious about strengthening that. It's, a weakness in the district and we need to strengthen it.
And that's not the goal too, right? So the
Goals.
goal is that first paragraph for
Number one is the goal. These are just.
Those are just
bullet point
ideas that we said, because what we said last year was we may have thrown out a goal and maybe the action plan that came back wasn't what exactly the board wanted or was looking for out of the goal, but we don't have any say in the action plan. That's the action plan they put together. So what school board said was, well, you can give some guidance on what you're looking for in that action plan. So that's not the goal. The goal is to increase the opportunities for all students to be successful through the implementation and expansion of new or updated academic and intervention programs. Does that make sense, Dave? Does that help? I mean,
No, I get what you're saying, and then I would amend maybe to be included in the action plan so that it's a suggestion rather than to be included. But like I said, even,
Maybe needs for all students.
I'd use the language like ID and assess and expand programs for non-gifted and talented students, something like that. I mean, you already have a program for the gifted and talented, you have benchmarks to qualify people for that, and without referencing a particular demographic within the school population, just say, we're going to identify and assess and expand programs for the non-gifted, talented student population, something like that.
can we say something to the effect that increase the opportunities for all students to be successful through the implementation and expansion of new or updated academic and intervention programs to affect all students?
We
But
say
it's
all students.
already-
We
Yeah,
say
for all students. I mean, so it's already sitting there, and I think
goal's
that-
there. I mean,
It just, like I said, it's just, and now you're saying to say something that's not for the gifted and talented, there just seems something wrong about that. I think we should be focused, I think if we're saying for a goal.
But you're
to-
talking about action plan items that are to be included. It's not exclusive. It's an area of focus. I mean, we expressed a desire to have them focus their action plan on that area. It's not exclusive. So I don't have a problem.
I agree. They can create the action plans as they do every year based on the goal. It's just every single board member who participated in the evaluation of the district goals that was at that meeting that night had the same comment practically around the table. Well, we don't get how this supports the goal. So we just wanted to make sure we threw out some of the things that we wanted addressed. And how they write the action plans is still
Up to them.
up to them.
And I just feel like we probably haven't communicated clearly enough what we have been doing, because I would say that I spend most of my time, most of my job is focused at the general student, because that's what my job is. I mean, this is my action, this is the action plan that I will be writing. And I can't see things that I would be doing that would not include students that also fit into the category of gifted and talented, and also fit into the category of special education. I mean, they all fit into, there wouldn't be anything I would exclude special education and gifted and talented kids within. I mean, it would be everybody.
But the high school programs are not.
Yeah.
You have to get into that program.
No,
because-
but I wouldn't create programs that are only for middle students, whatever that is. Any
Any
program
student's
I,
available, it's just what they
Any-
get into or don't get into.
right, but if I created, let's say, we did readers and writers workshop, I wouldn't say that's only for students that are not in gifted and not in special ed. It's for anybody who doesn't qualify for those two programs. Also remember, the expo is like one period. This is not, it's the same amount of time that we spend with students for mastery enrichment. The only one who I would say has differentiated programming is special education, and that's by law. And there are students who are in our advanced programming that are not in Expo and are not identified as being gifted and talented in our district. It's open to anyone, it's just whether or not you qualify, you know?
But the point is that there's only, and not particularly Expo, some of the more advanced courses we offer, yes, it's available to every student, but only a small percentage of students are going to benefit from that program.
So, but you're talking about Expo, but I mean, using the algebra and geometry.
Yeah, that's
courses
more
as an
what
example.
I'm-
So that's great, because what I would argue, and Sandy, tell me if I'm wrong, is that by creating the geometry class, there are more students now taking algebra now in 8th grade than they had been in the past. So that middle that you guys are using, that average phrase, has now, that bar has now been raised as a result of creating these other programs. So it's, just because something seems to be segmented to one population or another, I would imagine that the view was to try to increase the overall level of engagement or achievement. So just because there's a geometry class now, there's more kids now who are in 8th grade who are being forced to catch up as a result of the change in the curriculum. So it's a good thing. You know, it's not that.
It's not a good thing.
No, I know, but that affects all the students. It's not just one segment. It's not just those kids who happen to be in that class, that geometry class, happen to have gotten something out of it. Now all of those kids in math have now raised that bar. And now you have more kids taking algebra in 7th grade than before. You have more kids taking algebra in 8th grade than ever before. That's all good things. And those are your average students that you're calling them. We're now doing things that 3-4 years ago, kids were not doing. So I'm not sure why we're calling them average, but.
And Dr. Collins is probably right. Maybe it's just a matter that we haven't identified and publicized those as much. Because when somebody says, what new programs do you have? Everybody talks about those new classes we have where, you know, RTI and Orton Gillingham and all these other programs. And when you talk about the specific programs, if somebody were to ask you off the top of your head, tell me what new programs you have. Or if they asked me, okay, because I would be the one that would be in front of the public maybe saying that. I'm not sure if I would point out a lot of programs that are for that group of students that is not special ed and not going to be benefiting directly, and maybe they benefit indirectly, and it's a good point, Dave, some of those more advanced courses. So it may just be a matter of us publicizing it more, or just getting it out there, or letting us know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes across our desk. I'm sure you know, it's adult learning. You have to tell me about 10 times before I actually remember.
Not only that, but the level of achievement, even in those kids who are in elementary schools, again, Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, but has increased year over year. Part of it is due to the new park guidelines and different things like that, but also the teaching methods that we're using that happen to affect those average students. And now part of it is born from what had formerly been, you know, for gifted and talented or the high achieving students, that's now worked its way down through the general population. And some of it is because that's what's been mandated. But the overall achievement has, throughout the entire school, I mean, when we look at the numbers that Sandy presents every year, it's reflective of the entire student population and it goes up. It's not one portion. So I wouldn't even use the word that it's indirect. I would tell you that directly, by changing some of these programs, that the overall student population, the student body has increased its achievement. So, like I said, I agree if you said the gifted and talented, to increase the gifted and talented program, yes, it's targeted to one particular one, because I don't know how that might trickle down. And if I said, you know, we're going to spend, you know, $1 million more on RTI or some of these other interventional programs, I get that. But we're talking about things that, you know, Sandy and her team do on a regular basis that increase the student achievement throughout the entire 1,600 students that we have.
Maybe it should just be read, address, well, you already have that though on the top about all students.
I think I understand what you're looking for, and we can, you know, just clarify and make sure we're advertising and explaining to parents all the opportunities that are afforded their students. Because I do understand what you're saying. I mean, it's hard to explain sometimes equitable versus equal, that some kids just need more, even though,
Well,
with that.
I think at the end of the day, it's a discussion that was also had when I was at the last CPAC meeting, which was like 2 weeks ago, which goes to our district goal number 4, which is the district doesn't toot its own horn enough, was the words the parents in the room said. That, you know, they told our director of special services that the majority of the parents don't know about all the things that we're doing. So, you know, maybe you get rid of the first bullet point, you understand what everybody was talking about. The goal itself, I think, is valid, goal number 1. And, you know, we were just throwing out things that, you know, and maybe as part of either this goal or goal number 4 or both, we work on communicating the great opportunities, since that's what Dino said, that our students have. And if the original intent was about opportunities, you know, we have opportunities that our students can avail themselves of. And you created an incredible program last year with the enrichment period, which I'm not sure was advertised enough, and that the board was fully aware of, and, it's things like that, if you have another outside the box idea, let's give it a chance to breathe life into it and not just say we're, working on the meat and potatoes. But you're doing that, so I think the umbrella goal is fine.
Yeah, I think the point of the action plan was to get the point across to the administration as to what we're looking for, and I think it's verbally gotten across, so I think I'm fine with striking that bullet altogether. And
Why don't we just cross off anything that has to do other than the goals? Because we've already had this publicized. We understand what your intent is. These things don't need to be approved.
And not the bullet.
So we'll just delete that stuff.
As long as we remember, the idea behind this was that at the end of the day, when we come back and revisit these goals, what you guys are doing and what we are expecting are the same. That was why we did it.
Yes,
That was the whole point.
Yeah, I don't think it was, I do not believe it's fair to either of you or anyone who works on the goals if what the board members had in their mind is completely different than what the action plans are. And then we grade you based on what was in our mind,
And
not your action plan. And that was the reason for the in-depth discussion.
Okay, everybody all right with that?
Anybody have any comments about the board goals?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the communications. Dr. Cullis had talked about the teacher's website before, and we've had, historic discussions going back on the teacher's website. So, it's going to be like a higher level of accountability now, that the teachers have to have a website, it has to be updated and utilized. There's going to be consistency and accountability. We're not going to have somebody say, by the way, Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so doesn't have, their website's not updated or they don't use it. It's going to be for everybody, and they'll be held accountable.
Yep, the administrators, we've had our meeting, and they are to be checking them randomly, and just to see, if parents see that one isn't, they should let us know or let the principal know, because they won't be checking every single person every single day. But I think everyone is really clear. The report went out, or the message went out last opening day, and also on Friday, I sent a memo specifically stating what has to be on the website. And then it's just a matter of monitoring it, but starting September, gave them till September 19th to get everything set up with their new websites, especially for our new staff. And there's a homework tab on every site. I've started randomly checking, and then.
Well, it's built into the template, the homework.
Yes,
site.
but some people are not.
So that's really part of the action plan. The teacher's website. Okay, and then getting back to the district website, they were talking about for years on and off. It needs to be updated. We've had duplicity in there. We got too much, we got different information in different spots. It's really hard to make sure every piece of that's updated when you change something. And just the index, when you go to the website, the things are in alphabetical order.
Yeah, now, Don, I know you had to leave when we got to this. There was a lot of discussion about the website, and isn't necessarily the website the best tool, and kind of the language of this goal kind of came out to be, the website might not be what is really the best solution. People are moving towards apps, people are moving towards different applications, so we gave them the flexibility to look at what would be the best communication mechanism. If the website's not it, if people aren't using it, if it's too hard to upkeep and it just doesn't make sense, let's look at something else, whether that's an app or that's a combination of the website and social media or something else.
Well, that's good. But I think if the website's not it, then we gotta kill it. Not slow death, quick death. If it's not being used, I go in there periodically to check the Friday folders, see if some of the sports announcements are in there for the different sports and things like that. So, I might be the only person using it. Like, I'm one of 32 people on the planet that use AOL for email, so. Okay, but I'm just saying that, so we identify that, I guess we're going to quantify what people are using concurrently and what else would be needed that we're not communicating through right now?
Well, I think that the part of the idea was to give them the flexibility to figure out what it is and then come up with an action plan on how they're going to implement it. So, I mean, the only thing I would say about that goal is I'd like to strike such as Genesis, only because it is locking them into, I mean, maybe Steve comes back and says, you know, we don't want to use Genesis that much, we want to use this other resource or whatever. I'd almost rather give them more flexibility to, I mean, expand the use of district resources, period.
Yeah.
I don't know why we I can't remember the discussion.
Well, you know what it was?
Yeah.
There were more items than that. We had Genesis, Facebook, like we had a bunch of things, and we started having her cross stuff out. and
I would just
Genesis
cross out
Yeah,
Genesis.
I wouldn't reference anything specifically. I was at a meeting last week with, at the Recreation Committee, and we were discussing, you know, there was some information out there about the new playground that we're doing at Gardner Field, and one of the people there, I won't mention their name, going through their iPhone, looking for emails, so they couldn't find anything and everything. So, you know, it's just, certain people look for information in certain places, and, you know, you got to keep that in mind as you put it forward and not eliminate something that some people use. It's not just what you want to have out there for the majority, especially like the senior citizens. A lot of people, not even seniors, but people that don't use social media that much. The Neighbor News is a great resource for community information. So it's a newspaper. It's still published in paper. I think it's really important that you have, maybe not the level of detail you'd be giving the parents and the students, but so the community at large knows what's going on in the school district. So I think you got to look at maybe some things that we're not using, but also continue to use the various media that's already out there, because not everybody is getting this information, even though it's out there in a lot of places.
Yeah, and we talked about the fact that Steve has done a great job with getting additional information in hard copy and places that we did mention that too. The one thing I would say is I would leave this up to Steve and the administration to figure out how to implement this. The only concern I have with too many resources is when you have one new piece of information, are you updating it on Facebook, Twitter, the website, the app, the this, the that? All of a sudden you've got, instead of clicking on one thing and saying update on the calendar, you're like, oh, I forgot there's a calendar over here, and there's a calendar over here and there.
And then you
run into all these
in the problems you had with the website in the first place.
Yeah, there should be one calendar.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
So that's, I
Absolutely.
mean, to me, I think the research on the back end is almost as important as the implementation on the front end, kind of.
So we tried to leave this as open-ended as possible, so it could be whatever technology or whatever method made the most sense. I mean, that's, I think, the way this was going to be written.
And I'd like to see that, I'm really happy to hear that Sandy said that we're, you know, picking one resource for teachers and telling them to use that, because I think that a lot of teachers have picked their own resources, whether they're Denville resources or free resources out there. Everybody kind of picks their own way to do it. And we're now putting in, you know, Google Classroom more with the Chromebooks and everything. So I want to make sure that as we implement new projects, we're doing it in a way that we're giving the teachers what they need, number one, because if they're using stuff that is on their own, that means we're not providing what they need, or maybe there's another resource out there that we can use separately. But I'll tell you, it's frustrating when you hear from a parent, oh, my kid's teacher uses this, it's phenomenal. Why doesn't the district use this because it's that or whatever? And you've got, I mean, I get text messages from teachers on classrooms because they use a certain way to communicate with us, different than other ways. So I think we need to make sure that we have some sort of continuity as to what we're asking our teachers to do. And if it's homework on the website, great, then all the teachers are going to head in that direction. That way, when I go to third grade with my kid, I know it's the same place I'm going to look, as opposed to, oh, the teacher uses a whole new website I got to go to or something. So I appreciate you doing that.
But the flip side of that conversation is then you're kind of going against the idea that you use it differently. I'll give you an example. One of my daughter's teachers uses something called Edmodo. Every day I get a thing that pops up saying what the homework is. I love it, it's great. Will I have to go to the website to get that same information? I'll do it, it's fine. But actually Edmodo was great. You know, we've only used it for a week, but it's.
But that means that we're not providing a resource for our teachers, that maybe that's something that the parents want and the teachers want that we haven't.
So how do we balance that? I'm not saying I have an answer to this, but it is an issue.
I can tell you how we're balancing that now. First of all, with like the Edmodo's great, we have the same capability in Google Classroom. It's just that not everybody's learned how to use that. We are doing the training right now. We've done 2 so far, and they have another one on October 7th. So then eventually everyone will get to that place. Right now, if they do use an outside website, it has to be linked to our website so that parents only have to click on the homework tab for it to come up. So if they use something else, it has to be linked, so that parents only have to click
Well,
on
you're giving them
one
that
tab.
flexibility. You're giving
Yes,
them-
because honestly, a lot of it is that's the one they learned. Some people learned that one 10 years ago and they feel comfortable with doing that, but when you hit homework tab, it has to come up where the homework is. Those are the guidelines at this point.
Is everybody good with us striking such as Genesis on goal number?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I had another question going back to number one on the action plan on the expansion of foreign languages. So, the action plan would include the cost of what languages. I was away on vacation when this was put together. Was there any discussion on the languages that were going to be part of this expansion? Because now we do Spanish, right? Probably most of the kids take Spanish at Valley View. And we do French.
Spanish and French.
And French, yeah. So what are we going to add?
We didn't say we were adding, we want to investigate it and see if we can do it better than we're doing it now.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And if we're,
One of the things, just to make it quick, is that in our district, around somewhere in the 85% range of the kids go into high school taking Spanish 1 in 9th grade. It's way too high of a number. It should be more like 50% of our kids. So that's the driving goal, if you want to look at it like backwards. Backwards is let's try to get, at least 50% of our kids going to high school with level 1 done. It's kind of like what we did with math, same thing. Like we shouldn't be sending 80, 85% of our kids to the high school taking algebra 1 in 9th grade. We want to finish algebra 1 in 8th grade. It's the same, it goes along with the same concept. And to address the middle part, this could impact other kids. So you may be really good in math and get A's and B's, but you also could be from France, maybe. Like we have a kid from Montreal that is really shining in French, because obviously that's his area to really shine. So it could hit a kid in the middle, it could even hit a kid in the bottom. Some people have an aptitude for language, so it could be a different thing. You can have a math person, you have a language person. So I think that would be the goal, if you wanted to work backwards from there, is to send more kids to the high school taking level 2.
and on that note, maybe we should explain item number 2, which we did talk about in committee, just so the board understands. Right now, we use EdUse here last year we used it only for level 2s or level 1?
We used a couple kids, I think
One
one kid took at level 2 French.
Okay, so and this year we're expanding it both for students that are going to take the level 2 that we don't
Because we don't
offer, we don't
offer.
have enough students.
Right.
But we're also going to have it for students that are taking level 1 in both Spanish and French, which we do offer, but if these students have scheduling conflicts and can't have everything, we're going to allow them to be able to get the full year of Spanish 1 and French 1 by placing them in a language classroom, yet they're going to be running a different program through headsets. And that way they will have the ability to have live interaction and ask questions and everything, but get this different level class that we couldn't fit in the schedule. Just so the board understands, we're expanding that from what we did last year to help more students get the level of language that they need.
Last year we had
So-
1, this year we have 6.
We're trying to expand the student participation rate, getting more students involved.
We're trying not to let the schedule drive the fact that the students can't take these classes. We found a way around the scheduling issue.
Yeah. So we're going to increase student participation.
If you're in geometry, it runs one period. We only have one class of geometry. If you're in geometry, it runs the same time as Spanish 1 does. So you can't take both. So this was a way of saying, rather than telling the kids you can't take Spanish 1, we
Yeah.
give them an opportunity.
That's great, yeah. I just think, because when I read this is plan to expand foreign language program, I'm thinking you're going to have them speaking Chinese and Russian.
Well, I mean-
So I just maybe, expand the student participation, which I would think is a great idea.
Well, I got to tell you, anything we did in the area of trying to expand the languages to a different language, it would be something we'd want to do with MHRD, because we wouldn't want to
Sure,
add a
yeah,
language that
yeah.
they're not doing.
Yeah, but I just think if you put it in the action plan, increase student participation. To me, it's sort of a little bit more understandable, because when I read plan to expand foreign language program,
But that's not going to be there, that was part of the action plan.
I know, but I'm just saying, when you say expand a foreign language program, It can mean different things to
No,
different
that's all
people.
gonna come out.
It's all gonna come out.
Anything with the bullets is coming out.
Okay.
We're just gonna approve the goal, but we understand where we're going with the action.
Okay.
I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but the one thing I just want to say is, number one, I'm thankful for the websites being updated that Sandy's talking about. The one thing is, like, and I guess this goes with 4, is this idea of the communication part. I mean, I've never known a better, person to make change than a vigilant parent who is keeping us honest in a lot of these types of areas. So I really hope what you're describing, that parents are going to really know about it, is in any way that we can skyrocket it if we need to, because that ultimately is going to keep the teachers doing what they need to do.
Yeah, like, is it gonna be addressed at all 3 back to school weeks?
It is, and also the letter's already drafted, it's going out in this Friday folder. Like I said, the teachers got the memo last week and the letter, so they know what is expected, and that it starts next week, and the parents will be notified at the back to school night and in the Friday folder. And we'll just, in any way that we do.
Maybe we make it a
Tweet it
sticky,
out, we can do anything.
yeah, sticky item in the Friday folders, maybe it bears repeating a few times.
For sure. It does. And nothing to hang on, good question.
Okay, I think we are done.
No, wait, we got to talk about board goals? Oh, but I didn't get to, okay, I thought we were focusing on the district goals.
Okay.
All right, the board goals. Number one, we already decided what location's going to be, unless I missed that, so I don't think there should be a goal. We're going with the municipal building. We determined the future location, that's a done deal unless I missed something when I was looking.
It hasn't been voted on.
That hasn't been approved by the state, hasn't been approved by either governing body. I mean, we're 95% there, but
Yeah.
we're not.
But
If something falls through, then we got to go back and determine what we want to do from there, so.
But we already determined the future location. We're going to the municipal building. I mean, you got the approvals. I just can't see that to being a realistic goal at this point. It might have been one a year or two ago.
Is there another goal that you were looking to try to replace that with, or?
No.
Just leave it all together and
No.
2 goals?
No. Again, I'm sorry, my wife wouldn't let me come home from vacation. Number 2, I mean, it's a goal, but it's really a sad commentary. You got to have a goal to have everybody participate in the board self-evaluation and the superintendent's evaluation. And then number 3, to increase attendance by board members at board, yeah, I guess that's a worthy goal, but I know some of the board members here, they travel on business, and sometimes you have a family crisis and things like that. They can't get to a meeting on time, or they can't make a meeting. Those things happen. But to increase attendance at school and community events, I'm not going to vote on that. I mean, a lot of the people I know here, I mean, I run into Mike probably more than anybody because he's here at the Board of Ed. I see him at the soccer fields with the kids. He's on the soccer board. I'm doing the Project Playground Committee. I got roped into chairing that because nobody else raised their hand. I'm president of 2 soccer clubs. I'm on the rec committee. I mean, I can't spend any more time to increase my attendance at school and community events. So I think everybody here does the best they can. But you got people that represent the board at the PTA meetings. You try to get to what you can. I went down to the Riverview Rocket ceremony. I was down there. But I just, I can't speak for everybody here, but I just don't think that's a realistic goal. We're going to increase our attendance. I mean, who's not going to something because,
Don, that's fair, and I don't
Yeah.
think this was meant to be at all punitive towards anybody. I really think what it was meant to do is keep in our minds that, when we can do it, we all want to do it. We all should do it. It's part of the job. It's part of the outreach of the board. I think it was something to keep our focus. I mean, to me, these board goals are about keeping our focus. So we're keeping our focus on getting the new location of the board office. It's not done. We have a plan, but it's not voted on.
I would put down.
We want to get 100% participation in the self-evaluation.
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah,
I mean, we haven't always done that.
Okay, that's good. But I on the community thing, I'd say something like to continue to participation in school and community events. So keep that separate from the board, maybe. Increase intent. Continue to participate in school and community events. I mean, I don't. If we say increase attendance, that's doing more than we're currently doing. And nobody. I don't think anybody's keeping track of that. No one has
Because it
to,
would-
no one has to agree with me, but I'm just telling you that it's
I just- the way it is right now.
it's like, getting a punch in the arm when you say increase attendance by board members at board meetings. I think everybody does the best they can, but at school and community events, I mean, there's only so many places you can be at night, especially when you have, double commitments. You gotta take your priorities, which one you have to go to, and miss out on the other ones.
Like, I get the goal, and I get what you mean, but the problem I have with it is that at the end of next year, where we're sitting in this seat or the other seats, I don't know how they say you were successful or not. How do you measure that?
Well, it's what Steve just said too, it's hard, you don't have a baseline, so it's impossible to say
Right.
increase.
Yeah.
I understand that, we can certainly word it, I mean, the intent of the goal was
I think to do what we
was
were
to
trying
have the
talk about.
board be visible at as many school events as we can. And that's why Steve has added into his weekly report some, things that are on the calendar for the schools or for the district that we hopefully could try to see if we can get at least one board member to. I get it, Don, we're all busy. I mean, we're all kind of running in a lot of different directions and we do the best we can. And my point of it was, listen, I work from home some days, and if Steve tells me there's something at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a certain day, hey, I might be able to go to it. So, it'd be great if I could just show up and kind of say hi and at least have the presence that the board's supporting whatever that activity is. That's the goal of it. I mean, how we word it directly, we can certainly change
I was gonna say,
that.
I feel to the points that were made tonight, they're actually soft, easy goals on ourselves, because by the very discussion that we had in August, as Mike has pointed out, Steve is already giving us the opportunity to attend things that we might not have been aware of. And we are, 90% of the way there to our board offices, and we're all busy people, so I don't see a problem with these as the goals to keep driving us to do what we do. That's that's what we signed up for.
I just reword to continue participation in school and community events and activities.
And one of the things you talked about as a board was just really going to like community type things too, as a board member representing the board. And I can tell you already, Don, you were at the, the Riverview. Mariana was at Riverview. I know Dino was there. Was anybody else there?
Yeah, and Dave was there.
There was four, right? I thought there were four.
And Dave and I were there at the Lakeview Family Fun Fest.
Right.
And he even represented the board in the dunk tank.
There you go.
So, we're making an effort to go out and be at events where people can come up and,
And Dino was actually spoke at our convocation.
and I was there.
And Mariana was there. So I
And
think
I've already
it's
hit a PTA meeting in the
just the idea.
Again, this wasn't meant to be punitive, or this wasn't meant to be calling any one of us out, particularly for not coming to a board meeting or going to more community events. It was more about keeping a focus on, we feel it's important for the board to outreach the community. We're going into strategic planning.
Right,
It's
so
going
how
to
about
be
we
even
just
more
say
important.
continue to
Yeah,
focus?
but I agree with that. But I just think the wording would help that, instead of saying the word, like Mike said, you don't have a baseline as to who does what in the community, so I just say continued participation as opposed to increased attendance.
You want to say maintain or continue? I honestly don't care.
I would prefer
So
to be-
instead of increase, change it to continue to
Participation.
attend.
Are you gonna not-
Something like
Or
that.
attend.
Continue to attend? Sure. Okay.
We have a vote down here to keep it.
I would prefer it to be increased attendance. I think I understand that there are people who cannot increase attendance. If you are doing all you can do, then it doesn't apply to you. It's not like we're gonna come around the table and say, every board meeting, eat you with a dead raccoon if you haven't done more than you did last time. This isn't something that we're going to meter. This is something that it's up to each of us individually as a board member, to go out and do something. I didn't do very much last January through June, and having this as a goal, it keeps it in my mind to try to do more stuff.
So how do you measure a goal like that?
Pardon?
How do you measure that goal then?
It's up to the individual person to measure the goal for themselves, I think.
We self-evaluate these goals at the end of the year anyway. Right?
It doesn't really have it's not a SMART goal, to Dave's point. It's just. How about last year we had the board cert process? We achieved certification, right? Do you want, is there merit to maintaining that, or?
It's good for
It's
3
good for 3
years.
years. We could work towards a additional certification.
We discussed that night, we could work
Right.
towards whatever it is.
She said the next level was
Certified.
Super certified.
Super, you get a bigger plaque.
Yeah,
I mean, you could measure this goal by putting like 50 things down or something like that, if you wanted
When
to.
have we ever measured any of our?
You've already got that many.
Yeah, right.
I call a discussion, let's move on, it's late,
Yeah.
guys, and we had
Look,
this discussion for 4
who-
hours the last time we had it.
Who feels okay about leaving it as is?
I'm fine with it as is.
I'm fine either way.
Okay, I'm fine leaving it as is.
Okay, so let's move on because I already lived this discussion.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, we have nothing under policy, so let's move to finance. Barb, would you care to take us through the items we'll be voting on next time?
Sure, at our next meeting, we have 7 items listed under letter D on tonight's agenda. It includes, number 1, the tax schedule for the 16-17 school year. Number 2 is the safety grant, $1,000. There's a lot of grants and donations. Number 3, the PTA Lakeview donated Chromebooks, smart tables. Number 4, more Chromebooks from the Foundation of Denville.
The
The
bag.
bags.
The bags for the, got it, sorry, my bad. Yeah, 37.50. Number 5, observations. 6, milk program. And number 7, donation of a floor mat from the A.R. Spinola PTA, Lakeview.
So, and I'm not gonna make fun of the whole milk thing, but at this point, can we still not get organic milk? I don't understand that. How is it possible?
Also, do we have some requests for strawberry milk? Can we get strawberry milk?
Yes, there was a conversation about strawberry milk.
It's difficult to get the strawberry milk, and the delivery, the way we set it up, is not really
Well,
conducive.
can't you put, we request strawberry milk in the delivery?
All right.
If people, students want it?
They don't always
Right.
have strawberry milk, so we do not want to offer because the milk company that doesn't really always have it.
We have,
And we ordered Cremo Land, the dairy, because they're the cheapest for the
No
milk?
organic?
All right.
They're the cheapest?
money on milk, so.
So
What's
far,
that?
We already lose money
this is
on
the
milk.
company
No, I
that
know.
is
I realize that,
approved,
but
and
still,
yes,
I'd rather pay
so
that
far
money.
this is the cheapest one.
And give my kid organic.
Well, the other ones have the
More than welcome to.
strawberry milk or the organic milk?
All right.
We will have to look into that.
Well, I don't know how many students want, if it's just one student having organic milk, parents can put it in a thermos bottle, but I don't know what the demand is, but I know that's come up in prior years,
Well,
the
that's the
strawberry
pro-
milk and the organic milk, so, I know we gotta go with the lowest price.
It's whole milk, I've heard discussed.
Oh, you talking about whole milk?
No, organic.
No, you're talking about,
I was joking about.
we can look into whole
They
milk.
don't allow it.
I meant organic.
Unless you get a note from the parent, they don't allow whole milk, right? Or 2%. This stuff tastes like crap, too.
We don't have a high demand for those type of milk, and then we'll go bad.
We'll put that down as a goal for next year, we'll evaluate the milk options.
Yeah.
No, make it unmeasurable.
All right. Find out what our options are about organic milk.
Hey, I did have one question on the Chromebooks that were donated from the PTA. Are those the same Chromebooks that, okay, great.
All the same.
Awesome, so it's all the same.
Everything is this Chromebook, except for it's the next year.
I'll look into this.
N22s and
I will look into
21.
that.
What is the plan for use of those 50 Chromebooks?
Yep, I think it's
Basically,
a volume thing. If
you'll use them in
cannot do
the
it for one
fifth grade
student.
wing mostly, because that's where.
Get them some
down
syrup, get them the strawberry.
Is that the fifth grade
Mostly
wing? Way
syrup.
about the C wing. That's where we have our best Wi-Fi, so the teachers down
Okay,
there.
that was the next question was, do we have the bandwidth to be able to?
Not in the whole building, but down there we do.
Okay.
And I know from being at PTA meetings, the intent was to help get the kids ready for 6th grade when they get issued one.
One of the best parts about this is that we won't have to collect our technology for park like we used to. Because the kids, we will have enough devices, this is not 100%, but we'll be in a much better position where we won't be collecting all the laptops and pulling everything out for instruction while we're testing. We'll be able to use the Chromebook. So that was a big deal.
So the students are not gonna get these Chromebooks, though, these are gonna stay at the school.
The only ones that are issued to students are for 6th grade. Everything else is just for the class.
And so if I understand you correctly, how we're gonna use the Chromebooks is based upon we have our best Wi-Fi? That is
Correct.
pretty sad.
Well,
Can we improve the Wi-Fi in other places so we can use them wherever they're needed?
This has been a process though, this building, we finally finished. Lakeview is going to be good in the 4th and 5th grade area, same with Riverview. Then the plan was to go to the next part. So this has all been part of the plan. So for next year's budget, we'll budget more Wi-Fi for the elementary schools.
When you say the Wi-Fi is not good, do you mean that the coverage isn't good or that it doesn't have enough bandwidth? I mean, I'm not an IT.
There's lots of interference.
Because I've heard for forever that teachers say, I can stand here and I have service on my laptop and I go over here and it does it. And then you've told us, nope, we are good with Wi-Fi, so.
In some places, we're good with Wi-Fi, not in the elementaries. I never said that. As a matter of fact,
I've
the
heard
one
it
who
here
pointed it
from
out.
teachers that say they have to like move their
Oh, yeah.
laptop to another spot to get service.
In this building, we're pretty saturated. I mean, I'm not saying you can't go in that corner over there and maybe lose it, but we're pretty saturated here. We feel very confident with it. We had another audit done and it's good. It's good to go. The elementary schools are good in the upper grades, not so much in the other grades. There's Wi-Fi, but not enough for a one-to-one. Like maybe we could run 10 laptops or something in one of their classrooms, but not 25 to 30. There's not enough. There's not enough access to it.
Because we told the foundation we did not want them to give us any additional technology. Now we're taking it from the PTA. So I just want to make sure that we're doing the correct process that we dictated to several these are all organizations that want to give us free things and help our students. And I want to make sure we're evenly making sure we're given the same opportunity to every organization.
Well, I think the things with the foundation was to not just make all that money only geared towards technology. So they have been involved in the Chromebook process, but they have not. They're going to help us with the bags, even though that's a residual cost. But I think it was an important thing because it's going to help with the wear and tear on them. But we're really working hard with the foundation to think about other kinds of things other than just technology. And this came up. It was a great offer from the PTA to allow us to test without having to collect all the technology for instruction. That was a big driving force behind that.
Because, I mean, the foundation was not happy when we told them we didn't want some of their grants at one point. So I want to make sure that we are having the conversation with the foundation and giving the same opportunities to them because they were not happy about it at all, so.
That was mostly geared towards iPads and single things, not like a big initiative. And I did have a long discussion with the foundation on the Chromebook initiative and whether or not they wanted to be involved. And there was some talk about trying to do it all in 1 year, and I really tried to stay away from it. Not just because I didn't feel like we were ready for it, but also it's hard to budget. Like, you might say, wow, great, we have all of it, but in 3 years we need $210,000 to replace it instead of $70,000. I felt like it was a little more manageable to do $70,000 chunks than having all of them expire. Because these things you can see, I mean, this is a 3-year device. You might get 4, but you have to plan for changing them out. So I had a good conversation with them, and I think we're moving in the right direction with it.
Before we move on, can I just ask, and I don't know what the process is for getting an item on the agenda from the schools, but number 3 says donation from the Lakeview School PTA, and number 7 says from the AR Spinola PTA. They're the same PTA, their title is the AR Spinola PTA, so shouldn't they be listed the same?
Yeah.
Also, one says gratitude.
Yeah, we'll fix that. Maybe even.
Yeah, I'd be more grateful for the 50 Chromebooks and the smart tables. The teachers were doing dances over them.
I have a question about number 1. It says that the board approves the amount of tax money that's required for school purposes. What if we don't approve it? I don't understand why it says approve. This is the amount the town is going to give us, right?
We've already approved this amount. Several things.
This is just a schedule of when they're going to pay us. Right?
Correct.
Sorry.
It's just the schedule when they're supposed to be paying the district. It's just to formalize it.
It's all good, you know, just breaking out, kind of,
We have this one thing here too.
Okay, all right. If that's it, we're going to move on to buildings and grounds.
So the program that I was working on with ThinkWork, he wasn't able to get it off the ground, so we're just rescinding the lease that he was going to use Valley View to offer an after-school program for some students that may be interested, but it just didn't get off the ground, so we're rescinding that.
Okay. That's it, nothing under transportation. If there's nothing else, we can move to the cause. I just have a couple of things. September 28th, New Jersey School Board's Morris County meeting at what used to be the Villas, now apparently called something else.
It's not the Saracen?
It's not serious, no, I'll tell you.
No, they
Called the
renamed,
mansion.
they renamed the Villa the Mansion.
Yeah, it's not Saracen,
But anyway, that's beside the point. Denville's going to be presenting that evening, and I think Dr. Pellis is taking the lead on this. In the good news and sharing section of the meeting about our advanced language program. So anybody who can make it can register online for that dinner. And we had a personnel meeting right before this meeting. We talked about the goals. I'll be getting minutes out on that. We reviewed possible goals for Steve and for Sandy. So I will send the notes out on that shortly. Oh, and do you want to mention the Foundation of Denville?
Yeah, that was on my list. Foundation of Denville golf outing is next Monday, a week from today. You can golf, you can come to dinner, both. I think it's $60 just for the dinner. If you guys are interested, check out the website. Also, the always popular Foundation of Denville kickoff party is this Thursday, 7 to 11:30 p.m. at the second half. Those interested in coming out for that, that's always a good time. And a couple other things, okay? I was also at the Lakeview Fun Fest on this weekend, so just wanted to say thank you to the staff and everybody who came. It was, I saw a lot of teachers and staff members there, Mrs. Bailey, Mr. Scala, in addition to faculty and custodians and lots of teachers. I saw Mr. Scala and Mr. Westbrook in the dunk tank. My son successfully dunked both of them. So really a great event, and thanks to the PTA for putting it together. Steve, the Lakeview roof, there is like pallets and pallets and pallets of tar. Is that just for the
That's for the
flashing?
stone. That's for the
That's for the
stone.
stone, okay.
When they actually almost kind of glue the stone down with
Okay,
those
okay.
barrels.
Can you take a look at the door that, it's like the double door that faces the flagpole? It looks like they got tar all over the door.
Oh yeah, I already told them about it.
Okay.
They have
And
to
the
power
concrete's
wash
a
it.
mess.
If the power wash it clean or acid wash or whatever it is,
Okay.
they're already told that.
Okay, thanks. So two things I wanted to bring up that I'd like to kind of get some feedback on what your guys' thoughts are is the volunteering policy that we have. Do we want to bring that through committee to take a look at that and see? I know we talked about it as a board before, and my only thought was maybe the security committee, because maybe that's a discussion when we don't have those meetings that often, but maybe at some point this year we bring it to the security committee and get some feedback from Chief Wagner and Steve, and if we need to make any tweaks on it or any changes. It seems, I agree with Steve, it has gotten much better. Mrs. Baisley talked about it at the PTA meeting, but it always seems to be an issue every year. And it's always questions and it's
Source of
always,
confusion.
yes, absolutely. It seems to be getting better, but it's still always confusing. So just maybe we can look at it and analyze if we can do something differently. That's one thing. The other thing was, I would like to see if we can discuss approval of bus routes again. I never want to see, I don't have the expertise to understand bus routes. I've spent a lot of time, more time than I ever want to tell you, on Excel spreadsheets looking at bus routes. And I don't really see it as a thing that the board needs to be getting involved with. Didn't we look at it last time, Steve, and you said it wasn't required?
It's
by
not
the state?
required, but the
So
board
it's a
kind
board
of
policy
formally
that-
felt like we
yeah.
should.
So I'd like to see if we can run it through transportation, I guess, again, and see if we have any interest or the entire board. I don't know how that would work, but I just don't see the advantage in us approving bus routes.
So is there any institutional knowledge on why that was done? Does anybody have any information on why we started approving bus routes?
What's the date on the policy? I think it may predate any of us at the table.
Even you?
Yeah, there's no major change.
I'm old and been here a long time, but, and I'm even older this week, but,
8,600. 8,600.
in my early years on the board, I don't remember ever seeing the actual lists like we did this year. I believe that the board has a business in looking at the routes. 2009. Like the year we lost the second question, no, that was before that, predating me being on the board, the year that the board did away with the courtesy busing, and they looked at the routes where buses had to go and where you could have walkers. I believe the board, when they impact families like that, should have skin in the game and look at them and know what they're talking about. But I think when we're running buses everywhere we should be running buses, we don't have the expertise. I certainly hope that we have the people that, run our transportation department looking at that, and what we could possibly say about it, I don't know. So no, I don't have any, what is it, operation?
8,600.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2009.
2009, so.
There's a regulation.
Yeah,
So that did
it
predate
predates
you.
me. Yeah, I have a memory. It predates me. It was here when I was here.
The regulation lists the, all the streets that you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a different one for the state
That
route.
was changed. My time on the board, I guess it's only the regulation.
We just changed that in 2015 also, not to add the safety about bus stops. We
Yeah,
added
they
that.
brought in the chief of police, and we worked with the police when we changed the routes, where you could walk and where you couldn't walk. There's a term in the policy.
Hazardous routes.
Thank you, Don. Hazardous routes. That, I believe the board should be aware of what's going on and what we're considering.
Yeah, we designated,
Buses stopping on this corner and that corner and 2 doors down and the next door down.
I just think, yeah, way back, we did the hazardous routes, that just about every street in town, it was, a hazardous route except for the Birch Run area. It was right near Lakeview School, but you can't, the way the streets are in Denville, you can't walk to school. And a lot of the, for these kids, it's just the roads are narrow. But in terms of the board approving it, I don't think we need to, approve it every year, but I think any major changes, if they occur, I think the Transportation Committee has to look at that, and the board should be involved here. And I don't need, we quantify it, but, a major reduction in routes, that type of thing. Scheduling, major changes to the scheduling and all of that, but.
So can we take Mike's suggestion and
Yes.
take a whack at reworking that policy through the Transportation Committee?
I think by our practice, if not by our bylaw, it should go to the committee that is directly, oversees that area, and they should make a recommendation to the rest of the board. And it sounds like you have support to have it changed.
Is that?
I would support changing because I don't think we have.
Okay, we'll put it through transportation.
But I do believe the board should be aware, like when we were looking at, so when they look at this policy, when we were considering cutting half of all of our stops, I think the board should be aware of that type of change to our routes.
We can talk about a committee, but I would foresee it to say something along the lines of a year-over-year summary of stops, people, those sorts of stuff like that gives you an idea. That's much better. What we do right now is like me approving every single kid's schedule. I don't have the knowledge or
Right, I agree.
expertise to look at all that.
Right, and then the problem is if something changes, then what have you approved and what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right, I agree.
Okay. As far as the other one that sells the volunteering, we are actually, when we first charged security, we did talk about doing a security committee meeting at the beginning of the school year roughly. So actually, we're kind of due for that.
We'll set up something.
So I think bringing the volunteering topic up with that, I think would be a great idea.
And then only other two things. First of all, thanks to the Denville Police Department, particularly Chief Wagner. I saw him all over the place on the first couple days of school. I mean, he was He drove down my street both mornings, the first 2 days of school, just stopped by, saw the kids, so I know he was in the schools, so he was out all over the place as well as the rest of the officers, so appreciate them being out. And finally, this Wednesday is the Riverview PTA meeting, as well as the Lakeview Back to School Night, and I am the Riverview liaison. Is there anybody that can help me out so I can be at
Since I'm also a Lakeview parent.
Dave has volunteered, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any other discussion items? All right, if not, we are going to open up for the second public comment section at 9:02 PM. And still seeing no public, I will close at 9:02 PM. We have a need for an executive session. We will not be voting afterwards. Mr. Lure, would you care to do the honors one more time? This is for personnel.
I move to convene an executive session in accordance with... I move to convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of this closed session will be to discuss personnel issues. The session will be made available to the public and need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. We are in executive session at 9:03 PM.